I live in Houston, Texas, big city, millions of people. I remember I left one time, drove down the highway, flew somewhere to a city to preach, came back a couple weeks later, and I looked, and in 2 weeks, a building had grown, had been constructed right by the side of the highway. It wasn't completely done, but it was like this 6-story building. You could see the structure of it, and it was like it grew up immediately. And as I saw that building, I thought, isn't life like that? Construction is everywhere. Big cities, small cities, construction is all over the place. Life is under construction. We are under construction. I don't know if you ever heard about Ruth Graham Bell, the wife of Billy Graham. He had his time of, after all the preaching, of sitting and reflecting for years, allowing God to transform him deep within, growing, even in his sedentary years. Well, anyway, Ruth Graham Bell lived to be 87 years old. She was buried at the Billy Graham Library in Charlotte, North Carolina. She put an interesting epitaph on her gravestone. This is what she put: Ruth Graham Bell, the wife of Billy Graham. End of construction. Thank you for your patience. And I think that's really good. And I think that's so true because if you've ever been through a construction zone, that's exactly what's going on in our life. We are under construction. You may not realize it, but God is working in you. You may not see the orange cones, but there's a construction going on in your life. And if you've ever been in a construction zone, I've noticed it's congested. There are potholes. It's bumpy. And life is just like that. We have disappointments, delays, setbacks. There's all kinds of stuff that comes against us, but that stuff really is meant to stretch us, to grow us. But what I want from you is to surrender yourself to God right where you are, in the midst of it, and say, Lord, I give you permission to work in me. And I know that you're doing a great work in me. I was preaching in Conroe, Texas. I was giving a parish mission there. Conroe, just a little bit north of Houston, 40 miles or so. And as I was giving the mission, a woman came up to me and said, Father Cedric, last time you were here about 5 years ago, there was a woman who came to the mission, heard you preach. She loved what you had to say. She's now in a nursing home. Her name is Marie, and she was your biggest fan. Would you go and visit her? And I said, absolutely, I'll go there. And I thought to myself, yeah, I'll go and cheer her up, that kind of a thing. So I went to the nursing home after I preached, and I met Marie. She was in a wheelchair, and right as I walked in, she had this big smile on her face. She was so happy that I came to visit. And I'm thinking, here's this woman in a wheelchair, and she's smiling. Found out that she had lost her husband. She was suffering from Parkinson's disease. She's in a wheelchair. She's in a nursing home. And yet, she had this buoyancy to her, this smile, and this wonderful, great attitude. I noticed that the nurses and the attendants, as they were walking by, they all said, hey, Marie, how you doing? She'd laugh and smile, and they all had a smile on her face. Obviously, she had a great relationship with everybody. I went there to cheer her up. She cheered me up. And what was that? See, Marie had a relationship with God. She had gone through her life, and she had developed that relationship with God. She had grown, and now in the latter years of her life, she had taken the attitude, she had taken her wanting to reach out to people, even in the midst of her afflictions. She didn't allow the Parkinson's, the nursing home, losing her husband, being in a wheelchair. She didn't allow that to just stop her. Really, she allowed it to stretch her. And she grew in the midst of her circumstances. No matter where you are, hopefully you're not in a nursing home, maybe you are. Some of you are in prison. I hear from you. But wherever you are, in prison, a nursing home, alone in your home, with a family, allow your circumstances to stretch you, to help you to grow. I live in a religious community. I live with 6 other guys in this community, part of a wider community of about 100 people in the western province of the United States. And some of the guys, they're easy to get along with and easy to be with and to pray with. Others of the guys, they're difficult. And I have to continually practice having a good attitude, being forgiving, trying to see the best in the other person. And what that is doing is stretching me. And I've made the decision that I'm going to grow through religious life. I'm not just going to go through, I'm going to grow through. And that's a decision that I've made. As I said, you can either get older or you can grow older. And growing older is a choice. So at that workshop, I heard all kinds of good things by Jane as she talked to us. And she shared this. She said, the person that you are now is the seed of who you will be later. I think about Marie, the woman in the wheelchair. She must have been quite a person when she was younger, because I looked at her now, MS, wheelchair, nursing home, lost her husband, and she was cheering everybody up. So the person that you are now is the seed of who you're going to become. Don't be thinking, well, when I get older, I'll change. Think about changing now. You want to be happy later, be happy now. Mother Teresa said, a smile is the beginning of love. So start smiling now, and I believe that you'll smile later. But if you aren't willing to give smiles to people now, why are you going to give it to them later? Because later, you probably won't be as healthy as you are now. So who you are now is the seed of who you're going to become. So if you're grumpy and complaining and cynical and angry, you're probably going to end up that way. But if you're trying to change, and that's what I'm really wanting for you, if you're working at the care of your soul, optimistic, forgiving, patient, flexible, I believe that you will change as you grow older. And as I said, first thing that you can do is, like Mother Teresa said, give love to people just by your energy, by your smile. So at that workshop, Jane Tybalt, she gave some characteristics of people who grow older. Don't just get older, grow older. Number one characteristic of a person who is growing, she said, be thankful. Gratitude. Be grateful. Don't just look at your circumstances and look at all the bad things and the negative things about it. In fact, that's what it says in the scriptures. Many of my programs, I talk about this. I talk about being grateful, not being grumpy, but being grateful. In many of my programs, I quote to you 1 Thessalonians 5:18. It is the will of God for you to give thanks in all circumstances. Not for all circumstances, in all circumstances. I think that's what Marie was doing in that wheelchair. She was thanking God not for the wheelchair, not for the Parkinson's, but in the middle of it, she was giving thanks. Remember Paul and Silas? In the middle of a Philippian jail, in the middle of the night, giving thanks. And I found out something about Thanksgiving. As you're giving thanks, it connects you with this power, the power of God. It strengthens you. There was a movie out some years ago, Grumpy Old Men, 1 and 2. I know it's funny and everything, but I think it's sad to get older like that and to be grumpy. That's sad. That's not your call. That's the call of the world, I guess. Our call is to become glad. The word gospel means glad tidings. And then she said, have a cause. We're talking about characteristics of people that grow older. Have a cause. I know a friend up in Michigan, 81 years old. He was a GM exec for years, worked hard as an executive, creating, designing cars. When he retired, instead of just taking up golf and being sedentary, he became the director of Habitat for Humanity, building homes for disadvantaged people as a volunteer. Gave his time, provided housing for people. So in other words, as you grow older, have a cause. I believe that the happiest people are those who are helping people, reaching out to people. And there's so many issues. I have a program that we write to people in prison. I have over 100 people that's called a pen pal program, writing to prisoners. You can do that from your own home. Just call that number, write me through their website, send me an email, write me at the address that you'll see. Have a cause, get involved. And then the last thing that I wanted to share is live with passion. If you want to grow older, be passionate. God will give you energy. Remember, who you are is God's gift to you, but who you become is your gift to God. I got a book in the mail, and there was a letter with the book. The book was called God Recycles Broken Dreams. And the letter said, Father Cedric, thank you for your program about passion. I wrote this book. I've been wanting to write it for years. It's my first book. And she said, P.S., I'm 88 years old. Wow. That's passion. You're never too old to dream a dream. So don't just grow, just don't get older like the rest of the world. We have purpose, meaning, and our purpose is passion. Our purpose is growing. Our purpose is getting to know God. And who you are is God's gift to you, but who you become is your gift to God. I am praying, wherever you are in the life cycle, that you will not be like the rest of the world. You will have a different spirit. You will not just get older, you will grow older. Don't just live, live with passion. I know that you have a different spirit. You're not just getting older, you're growing older. I got a letter from a woman. She said, I bought all your books for myself and my husband, who went out to buy a bookshelf just for the books. This letter comes from Arizona, and this tells me that these people want to grow. That's one of the ways that you grow in wisdom and knowledge is by reading books. I've written 22 books to date, and these books will help you with purpose. Remember what I told you about purpose? Your main purpose is to grow in God. Number 2, to grow in virtue and morality. And number 3, to live with passion, to become all that you can be. In all my 22 books, I talk about purpose, living a purposeful life, growing in God, living with passion, growing as a person. These books will really help you. And what they do is when you buy my books, they support me. By the way, if you purchase all of my books, it's half price. Helps my TV program to reach out because TV is expensive. Thank you to my partners who are supporting me week by week. Thank you for all of those of you who just send in a donation. I gratefully receive that. So I want to hear from you. Write me a letter. That encourages me. Visit my website. Call that number. Thank you, thank you, thank you in advance for purchasing my books, for donating to my ministry. Don't just live. Live with passion.
Discover your purpose. Be energized. Realize your potential. Live God's will. Father Cedric's books, DVDs, and CDs will inspire you to live passionately. Make a move right now and purchase these inspiring resources. To order, simply call 844-FATHER-C. That's 844-328-4372. Write us at Father Cedric Ministries, 430 Bunker Hill Road, Houston, Texas, 77024. Or log on to www.fathercedric.org. That's www.frcedric.org. Today is the day to make a change in your life and become all that you can be.